Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sabbath Rest Book Talk. My name is Erin McCole Cupp. I am the author of the Jane E. Friendless Orphan memoir series. I'm also the co-editor, along with Ellen Gable Hercatch, for the Image and Likeness anthology. I also write other stuff, too. We also have joining us this evening Carolyn Astfalk. Carolyn, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Carolyn. I'm from the Hershey, Pennsylvania area, and I'm the author of 3 contemporary Catholic romances, and most recently contributed to an anthology of Catholic short stories for young adults that comes out Wednesday called Secrets, which we're giving away.
Yes, absolutely. I'm really excited about that because this is one of those, I've never wanted to be a radio show host, but I guess I'm really satisfied to be able to say win it before you can buy it. So we can actually win it before you can buy it. So if you'd like to win yourself a chance, to win yourself a copy of Secrets, Visible and Invisible, the forthcoming YA anthology with Carolyn and Corinna, another Sabbath Rest book talker, they've got pieces in there. It's looking really good. Go ahead and comment live. It should be on the right-hand side of your screen. So I think I'm pointing to it, but I'm kind of directionally challenged. So if I'm pointing here and you just see like the side of your computer screen, then go to the other sides. Comment there. If you have a U.S. address, go ahead and comment anyway, even if you're international. But if you have a U.S. mailing address and you'd like a chance to win Secrets, Secrets Visible and Invisible, go ahead and comment anytime during our live broadcast, and we will hopefully pick a winner to get your own copy of Secrets Visible and Invisible. I'm really, really excited tonight because our topic for Sabbath Rest Book Talk this evening is integrity. Integrity is that thing that keeps you doing what you say and saying what you do. It provides that balance between what your actions are and what you say your actions should be, or what you say other people's actions should be. And it's a topic that's pretty near and dear to my heart because integrity is kind of one of those things I think we should all strive for, but mostly I've found out that when I don't live with integrity, my life is just too darn complicated and uncomfortable. So I almost can't say that like my integrity is like hard fought and won or anything. I'm just too wimpy and too stupid to like spin a lot of lies. I don't know, Carolyn, how do you feel about integrity?
Hey, any way you get by it, if you can accomplish it by being wimpy, so be it.
Yay, wimpy! Woohoo! So the books that we're talking about tonight are, we've got The Grace Crasher by Mara Faro, which is one of my favorite indie reads ever. Yeah, Carolyn, you're the one who, I had it on my Kindle to read for ages, but you're the one who really like, your comments online about how much you loved it. I'm like, maybe I should bump that to the top of the list. And boy, am I glad I did. So I kind of want to talk about that at the end because that was my favorite. Is that okay?
That's fine with me.
All right, awesome. The other book we talked about, this is our children's, or really a middle grader. It's 7 Riddles to Nowhere by Amy Cattapan.
I've got a live, actual paperback.
You have a paper copy.
I have a paperback because my children prefer paperbacks.
Oh, excellent.
So my daughter has read this one already.
Okay. And so yeah, I want to talk about it. I want to find out what your daughter thought too. I'm going to see if I can pass that on to my my 8-year-old, see if she might be interested in reading that. And then I have perhaps the most exciting cover that we have ever had to show on Sabbath Rest Book Talk. Freckles by Jean Stratton Porter. This is far more exciting than the cover for Shane from last month that looked like a Marlboro ad. Are you guys ready? This, my friends. Oh, you know what? I'm holding it upside down. This is the cover for Freckles by Jean Stratton Porter. This, my friends, is what happens when your book sticks around so long that it goes into the public domain and nobody bothers putting a cover on it anymore.
Yeah. Also, free on Kindle because public domain.
Because public domain. So yeah. that says something.
The only cover I saw was on Goodreads. There was a nice little picture of a freckled young man and a young lady. So.
Okay, is that the one with them in the swamp?
Yes.
Okay, and she had the big giant bow on the back of her head, the swamp
I believe
angel.
so, yeah.
Okay, so Carolyn, can you give us a quick summary of Freckles by Jean Stratton Porter?
The lovely photo. I
Yes.
admit I'm not done with this yet, but even halfway through, I can tell you it is the perfect book for integrity. I'm not sure if Rebecca chose this or not, since she has a wealth of children's novels, kind of, I guess, at the tips of her fingers.
Oh, yeah. Rebecca Willen is a frequent host of Sabbath Rest Book Talk. She's taking the summer off. She's a busy girl, and so she's got the summer off. But yeah, she's the one who recommended this. So, how far have you gotten with Freckles?
I'm a little over halfway, so I can give the basic. Freckles is a young, he's Irishman who at birth was abandoned, and not only just abandoned, but his left, I don't know how much of his hand was cut off. And so he's been raised in an orphanage, and he comes to find a job in the Limberlost where he is protecting the large, virgin forest for his employer so that others don't come in and try to cut down trees illegally and basically steal from his employer. And when he goes there, he's terrified of all the creatures in this wilderness. But he does his job. He comes to meet a young woman who halfway, they never called her anything but the Angel. So I'm not sure if she has a name.
She never gets a name. She is always the Swamp Angel.
Yes. She accompanies the Bird Woman who visits the Limberlost to photograph these rare and exotic birds that live there, and other animals, I suppose. And he is, I don't know if you want to add more to the end of it, but even halfway through, there's lots of instances of integrity that Freckles shows.
Right. He has lots of chances where he can betray his employer and make more money than he's ever dreamed of. But instead, he chooses to do his job and do the right thing and make far less money than he could have. I don't want to spoil too much, but I loved this book until about the last quarter of it, fifth of it, last 20%, somewhere in there. Just be warned, because it kind of operates on the assumption that integrity is something you are born to. It's not something that you can learn. You either are born with it or not. And there are all these, you've gotten these hints so far, Carolyn, in what you've read, even if you're only halfway through, of, he seems to be a born gentleman.
Right.
He seems to be born honest. And like, at first I'm like, before I got to that last part that I wasn't so keen on, I kind of like, I was seeing sort of echoes of Anne of Green Gables, because here we have this redheaded orphan that nobody wants, who turns out to be just a light in people's lives, a light of integrity and a light of joy and honesty and all these good virtues. And they kind of, I don't know, throw kind of a wet washcloth on it at the end. So keep reading, because it's sort of, you can kind of see where it came from in the culture of the time, if you think of it, because this was written a little over 100 years ago. I think it was like 1907, if I remember correctly. So keep that in mind. There's nothing horribly offensive in terms of language. If there are words that you run across and you want to talk about it with your kids and talk about history, then that's a worthy task, I think. But I was kind of disappointed in the end, because it sort of at the end implied that integrity is something you have or you don't, and it's not something you can cultivate.
Interesting. Yeah, because obviously that's not true. Yeah, and they do foreshadow that all over the place, that he's, they're just kind of amazed and overwhelmed, but like, oh my goodness, he's just such a great guy, without having been really brought up in any decent circumstances whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, so it's kind of, anyway, but it's a nice read. Okay, so I'm just checking in on our comments so far. We've got Kathy who's commented, yay, welcome. And Another person whose name I don't recognize, you end with 72. Welcome. Thanks for checking in. Theresa Linden is the author of a bunch of wonderful books, the West Brothers, the Liberty trilogy. She's got something in Secrets Visible and Invisible. And she was supposed to join us tonight as one of our co-hosts, but she is not able to connect, and she's got a sad face on there. So I'm sad because honestly, I think Carol and I have been trying to bring her on the show for about a year and a half.
Yeah, probably.
So hopefully next month we'll see how that works out. Hey, thanks, Pequalax. I don't know if I'm saying that right. You're pretty entertaining too. Thanks for commenting. Keep those comments coming. Let's see what we can talk about. Let's talk. So that's it for Freckles for me. Do we have okay, so my vote is to do Grace Crasher last. So 7 Riddles to Nowhere next.
Okay.
So yeah, are you okay with that?
That's good with me.
All right, awesome. Let's talk about 7 Riddles to Nowhere. Can you, since you have an actual hard copy cover, could you hold that up one more time just so our visitors, our viewers could take a look and go to Amazon and buy this book, because I really enjoyed it. I finished it in less than 24 hours, and part of that was sleeping. So it's a page turner. It's a screen slider. Consider I got mine on Kindle. Anyway, so it's here's the rundown on 7 Riddles to Nowhere. We've got a student named Cam who has been living with selective mutism since he was at the very tail end of kindergarten. Selective mutism is a very mysterious, kind of challenging way to go through your life. It's where you can, a person who has selective mutism is only able to talk in certain circumstances. And I actually know a young lady, not very well. She used to be in my youngest play group, who did develop selective mutism. And it's so difficult because it's one of those things that, there's so much pressure to talk. And when someone can talk in some circumstances, but not in others, the people who want the child or the person with selective mutism to speak, they might accuse that person of lying, of faking. And how, on top of having this difficulty, and then to have people assume that there's something morally wrong with you too, for a child to go through that. Cam is the name of the character. He's going to school in Chicago. Sorry, I had to say that, all the Chicago people. Yeah, so I say Chicago, but you guys say Chicago or something like that. You can make fun of my accent anytime. I love my accent, and I provide a lot of material. Anyway,
say water.
What's that?
Water.
Water. If I'm not, see, I'm relaxed right now. When I'm stressed, I say water. When I'm stressed, but when I'm relaxed, it's water. So I'm kind of chill right now. So it's water. Yeah. But water ice, not Italian ice. It's water ice. My big girls just went on a trip this week with a bunch of New Yorkers, and yeah, so water ice. Anyway, so let's talk 7 Riddles to Nowhere. My Kindle copy. So here's the thing. Cam has this challenge of, he's got a selective mutism going on in his life, and he has finally found a school where he fits in and he's comfortable and the people are compassionate. The problem is the school is about to be shut down for financial reasons. So if he loses that school, then he has to go to a public school where they're going to put him in a class where he doesn't really belong. So meanwhile, the school is about to shut down, and he has this opportunity to sort of enter this contest to inherit this large sum of money with which he could save the school. And in order to win the money, he has to be the first one of four people to solve these 7 riddles. And when Carolyn, you're the one who recommended this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why did you recommend this for integrity? Because it took me a while to figure out why.
Yeah, when I was reviewing it today too, I was thinking, why did I recommend this? But then I think I remembered, because in the end, and I don't want to give away the ending, but you can see that integrity isn't, it's not just something like he needs integrity, Cam, obviously, to complete this competition, because he's he's up against these bullies, basically, and people that are willing to do things that might not be fair or whatever to win aren't the kindest people, don't have the best motives. So like, Cam's going to give this money winning to save his school, and other people have more selfish reasons. So in the end, what's rewarded is actually ultimately integrity. It's like a wholeness of spirit, I guess you'd say, whereas you have the right motive, you have the right the ends does not justify the means, you're willing to work fairly, and so that it's more like the whole way you live your life, other than one incident or something like that, that is a part of a whole that is honest and it's forthright and it's moral.
Yeah, and I think there's also towards the end, again, I don't want to give anything away, that shows that the integrity, in order to, sort of prove, the people in this contest, including Cam and his friends who were helping him, and I love the interaction between the four of them, by the way, that's just, it's absolutely adorable. They have to, in the end, show their integrity, their desire to use the money for something good, but they also can't, they have to sort of show that they're not faking it in a way. And I can't see, if I give away the one big thing that demonstrates, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There's an incident with one of Cam's neighbors that I'll just leave it there. And that's sort of, it ends up being the key, something he did before he entered this contest, that showed his integrity. That is really, in the end, what ended up giving him what he needed to succeed. Right. And the success is on many levels. Again, I can't spoil anything, but again, it's a really quick read. Lots of fun to read, but still has lots of really good. It's not popcorn. It's not full of empty calories. What's something that's tasty and still good for you? Granola? No, that has other connotations.
Cheese.
It's cheese. It's cheese of middle grade novels.
I have to say, this book has one of my favorite characters of all time, the old man Engelbert. And this, maybe it's because of my childhood, but growing up in Pittsburgh in the, Steel City, like 80s or late 70s, there were quite a few people that had voice boxes. And this gentleman.
Oh, yeah. I know.
In Pittsburgh, heavy smokers ended up with throat cancer and boxes. And I have distinct memories as a child because they were very friendly, maybe wanted to say, hi, honey, how are you? And they had those voice boxes, and it was intimidating. And that's exactly the experience that Cam has. And when I read that, it just struck me, what a unique but real character. One of my favorites.
Absolutely. And what, now that you say that, there are all sorts of themes of voice running through this entire book. The what it's like to lose your voice, how can you function without it, and what what that means for your interactions with other people, and what people think of you. And how do you maintain your own sense of self when other people's ideas of who you are so different from who you actually are.
Right.
So here's a good chance for me to peek over at our comments. Kathy loves Seven Riddles to Nowhere. Oh, and it's a great read of Catholic history of Chicago. It really is. It's a lovely and funny parts when they're talking about Saint. Oh gosh, now all I can think of is Saint Porcupine.
Procopius.
Thank you, Saint Procopius. All these, fascinating things. And also, I like how they talked about the ethnic parishes, which is something that was historically important during the late 1800s into the 1900s. I'm originally from the Philadelphia area, so that was a really big part. And I know that was big in Pittsburgh too.
Yeah.
The ethnic parishes where people could go to form communities of people who spoke their language. It wasn't really so much a what do you call it? It wasn't like a segregation kind of thing. It was, this is a place where you could go and hear your home, the language that you speak.
Right.
So it was really fun to see how those things impacted the areas where they were, Chicago as an example, and how, as the immigrants' families grew up and, you know, moved and communities changed, the things they left behind. Theresa is on the YouTube commenting about Cam's integrity when he sees old man Engelbert struggling with his wheelchair. And Barb, good old friend of Sabbath Rest Book Talk, likes that Cam, who's selectively mute, begins the book by helping the old man who's physically mute, and probably would give anything to speak. So I'd like we were talking before about how the theme of voice runs through here.
Yeah.
So what grade do you think you'd recommend this for?
Well,
Carolyn,
my daughter read it when she was last year, I think so, 4th grade, about 10 years old.
Okay. Yeah.
She's a good reader, but I'm thinking more of the content. I think much younger than that, they might not appreciate some of it, but
yeah, I might pass this to my rising 3rd grader. I'm not sure she'll get it just yet. Might hold on to it for a while. I mean, if she wants to poke, she's like me, luckily, in the sense that she likes to reread things. So I know not everybody does. So that might be a good thing for her. Oh, we're running out of time. 7:22. LANTIGUA is going to be joining us shortly. Liz is from Good News. I keep wanting to call it Sabbath News Book. Good News Book Fairs, which she's got a lot to say about integrity, about matching what we believe and what we think is right with what we buy and where we put our money. So I'm really looking forward to talking to her. But before we bring her on, she should be on in a few minutes. I can't wait to talk about Grace Crasher. Can't wait to talk about it. Carolyn, can you give a quick summary?
Okay. Young woman Julia, who has a crush on Dylan from the Misfit Kens group, is trying to move into his neighborhood to be near to him. She finds an apartment, but they're only looking for Christian renters. So she has to fake it. And in the process, she meets with, the owner of the building. I think her name was Kitty, but more importantly, her son, Mark, who is, born-again evangelical Christian. And Julia's kind of got to fake her way through all her interactions with them. In the meantime, trying to get, to Dylan. And at the same time, she's dealing with a lot of personal family issues. Although she's moved out of her parents' house, her father has a drinking problem, and her mother has all sorts of related problems having to do with her and her dad. And so she's kind of really trying to make her own way and discover the truth. So I guess that's where integrity really plays into it.
Yeah, I love that I can't even remember what other book we picked up, but one of us, Grace Crasher, oh my goodness, is there ever a book that was more fitting for the subject of integrity? Yeah. Because this girl, Julia, is lying her way through so many different places.
And it's hilarious. The opening chapter is hilarious.
It's hilarious. But the thing is, it's hilarious and heartbreaking. Because I want to look at this. Look at this cover, okay? So much pink. When I first saw the cover, I'm like, oh, okay, chick flick, chick lit, that'll be fun, that'll be nice. Holy cow! I literally last month I said it's been a long time since there's a book that had me sobbing on the toilet because I wanted, want anybody to see me cry this hard over a book. Yeah. Oh my goodness, the scene. Oh, how can I say this without giving too much away? There's a scene where towards the end, where she really has to face the lies she's been telling herself and the truth that has been pursuing her this whole time. And it has nothing to do with these guys she's been chasing back and forth.
Right.
And it's just for me personally, it was, minus the guys, but it was so close to my own literal come to Jesus moment in my life when I was 18 that if anybody has ever had any sort of reversion experience, as they say, or conversion experience in young adulthood, it hits so many solid notes about what that experience is like and what it is like to face the lies we've told ourselves for so long.
And so much of the book, Julia's pursuing. She's pursuing Dylan, then she's pursuing Mark. She's pursuing this apartment. She's pursuing, but the whole time God's pursuing her in a very specific way. And in the end, she has to choose. She has to have integrity, to respond to that.
Right. And she has to see that she has been pursued and that she's worthy of pursuit. Mm-hmm. because so much of her life has been, you know, communicating to her an experience of you're not worthy of pursuit.
Yeah.
And then how God just totally turns that around, and in a totally believable way. It's like not at all preachy.
That's the beautiful thing about that book. It is so believable and so relatable in so many ways. It's a very very honest feelings that the author put in there of I want to say even like all the crushes and stuff that Julia goes through. It's very transparent, very I don't know, I guess maybe it's just my personal thing. I found it relatable, but it's just it has integrity. It's very honest. It's not glossed over in any way.
Right. And I like every time I think like the whole which way does the Jesus fish swim?
Yeah.
And there's a scene, another really favorite scene of mine is when so Julia is sort of kind of going after Markish, maybe the landlady's son. And there's this other girl at Mark's church who is, you know, going after him. And so Julia hears this other girl talking to another Christian friend about how Julia was, these aren't the words she used, but how Julia was sent by the devil. And Julia is the spiritual attack who's destroying this relationship. And it was kind of a wake up call to me to make sure, like, to examine the integrity in my own life now. Like, okay, am I thinking of people as my problem? Am I, you know, how much am I thinking this person is my problem instead of, you know, this person is a child of God? And, you know, how am I not treating that person as a child of God? How am I messing things up there? So that was really a good, you know, a good thing for me. Carolyn, do you have any other favorite scenes?
There's a lot.
Yeah,
The opening scene in the Christian bookstore, and then ultimately, the very ending scenes too. Because all these characters are very well developed. Mark is well developed too, and he has to show integrity too. And he's really pushed out of his comfort zone in a completely different way than Julia. You know, but he's challenged, and he has to learn how to live with integrity as well. Because he's kind of been a mama's boy in some ways, and he has to push beyond that too. So I just would highly recommend, you know, and it pokes fun at Catholics and it pokes fun at evangelicals, but it's all funny because it's all true and it's all kind-hearted.
You know what? It pokes fun at Catholics, it pokes fun at evangelicals, it pokes fun at atheists, which is almost like you're not allowed to do these days. Hold on one second, guys. We're having some technical difficulties. Bringing Liz Lantigua from Good News Book Fairs on. So we're doing some troubleshooting there. And let's take a peek over at YouTube and see who's chatting with us this evening. Maybe we could do the giveaway. Barb is talking about the great contrast between fake it till you make it and true integrity. And so much humor. None of it is mean-spirited. Yeah, I totally agree on that. Yeah, it's just one of the best indies I've ever read. Okay, Liz is having some trouble with getting on here this evening. So while we work on that, let's see if we could do our giveaway. So I'm going to bring up random.org and let's see how many comments we have. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We've got 15 comments. And what I'm going to do, just so I don't go insane if I comment, and it's at one of the authors, because we have a couple of the authors from Secrets Visible and Visible commenting tonight. If it's one of them, I'm just going to go down to the next commenter and let you know you won. So number 10 is our winner. So let's see your commenter number 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Theresa Linden. You are Teresa's on there, right?
Yes, she is.
All right. Sorry, Theresa, you are not eligible to win. But we're still glad you're commenting. So our next commenter is Barb Shishkevich, who is a longtime friend of Sabbath Rest Book Talk. and she is going to be our winner. I happen to know that she has a U.S. address, so we should be good to go, which actually brings me to Carolyn. You might be able to hand that directly to Barb at the end of this month, the beginning of next. Where will we be, Carolyn?
We will be at the Catholic Writers Conference Live, which is taking place in Lancaster. Was it July 31st to August 2nd, I believe? So this is the annual live conference for Catholic Writers Guild members and non-members, where we have several days of networking. We have lots of different presentations by a variety of speakers and workshops, and lots of opportunities even for, mass together, adoration, fun, sales, all kinds of things. So I am really looking forward to it this year.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun. Even if you're not a writer, come on out and check us out. It's 3 days of fantastic deals, free books, social events, media stuff, just all sorts of fun. And it's only $75, people. Come on. The last writers conference I went to before started going to the Catholic Writers Conference was $300 for 3 days. So this is an unbelievable deal. You're like, just in the free books that you can grab while you're there, you're going to make more than $75 back. So it's totally worth your time and energy and stuff. Here's what we've got to do, guys. We have Lizette Lantigua is having some trouble getting on here tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record the interview with her and link to it in the comments on this video. And then I'm also going to post the link to that video on my YouTube channel on Sabbath Rest Book Talk. And you can find out some things about Good News Book Fairs that way. Sorry for the technical challenge that we faced this evening, but we had a great conversation. Carolyn, any last words, any reminders you want to send out about the anthology that drops on Wednesday?
Only that it comes out Wednesday, 7 short stories. It's great summer reading for teens. A lot of them are connected to the author's other books, so it's a great introduction if you want to try out a new author but not buy a whole novel. It's a great way to do that too.
Okay, and where can we find Secrets?
For now, you'll find it on Amazon, and eventually it's going to make its way to all the other ebook formats and you're hopefully in your local Catholic bookstore as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Carolyn. That's Carolyn Astfalk. I'm Erin McCole Cupp. Keep an eye out in the comments below for your link to the interview coming up with Liz Lantigua of Good News Book Fairs. And we will see you hopefully next month. We've got some, speaking of technical difficulties, we have some technical challenges going on with, I'm going to actually be in England. I'll be closer to Corinna Turner, our other Sabbath Rest Book Talk host, for our August 5th episode. So we are in the process of trying to figure out how we're going to manage our Sabbath Rest Book Talk for August, because we've got a bunch of books on there, one of which I've been dying to talk with people about, and that's Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh. I've been dying to talk about that one. There's so much to talk about because our theme is belonging for next month. So hopefully you can join us. Thank you, everybody, for commenting. We will see you next month or before at the Catholic Writers Conference and so on and so forth. God bless everybody. Potato chip, potato chip. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.